It's time for the big game. Hi friends, thank you so much for joining me. Today we're going to go through how I did last week and then get into some game day snack foods that you can either have at your own gathering or take, to someone else's home if that's where you're going, so you can have a few better options. First off, this last week, I gained 2.2 pounds. Yeah, you heard me right. I wanted to do what I always do, which is, it won't work. My body won't continue to lose weight. It's not for me. It's, I can do all the right things and my body just won't do it, blah, blah, blah. All the things, all those negative things that we tell ourselves, right? So I tried to just kind of take a step back and think about the fact that 2.2 pounds, in order to gain 2.2 pounds of fat, you have to have eaten an extra 7,700 calories, which I did not do last week. So obviously there's something else going on with my body. So I decided to do the smart thing this time and actually measure myself. Now, mind you, I had just measured last week. I measured all over. I lost another average of a 1/4 inch in a week while gaining 2.2 pounds. So, and there's no way I gained 2.2 pounds of muscle in a week. Obviously my body is, retaining water, or I've got some lactic acid buildup, something is going on. So I was kind of proud of myself for taking that step back and thinking about what else could it be. At the same time, it also did make me realize that kind of negative headspace that I can go down really, really easily. If I do see another gain this week, I may go to once a month weighing just so that I can keep myself from playing the mind games, because that gets to be a dangerous area for me where I can easily then either binge or I can, just go off the rails and give up, which I don't want to do. So that's something that's kind of yet to be determined. I knew there would be times I would have a gain or, maybe not have a loss, but I guess I wasn't expecting, 2.2 pounds. That's a lot of gain in a week. So that was disheartening to see, but this whole journey is going to be a kind of play it by ear. So we'll see. This next week, what I'll be doing is I found some 100-calorie English muffins at my dollar store. That was exciting. So check out your dollar store, because if it's close to expiration, it may wind up there. And if I eat them this week, they're still within date, or you can always pop them in the freezer and have them later. Bread actually freezes really, really well. So if you haven't tried that, try it. But I'm going to be eating those this week along with 2 eggs. I'm going to kind of make like an egg McMuffin situation. And I'll probably go ahead and add a 1/2 ounce of cheese on the top of that as well. And then of course I'll have my protein, shake in my coffee like I always do. It's one of my favorite things. So that's not changing. For lunch, I've been craving a really big salad. And when I make really big salads, I make really big salads, like in a huge bowl, big salad. And I'll just add in whatever veggies I have in my fridge or freezer. Just literally a kind of a fridge clean out is what I really do with salads. And then I have that Bolthouse Farms, the creamy Caesar dressing is one of my favorites. You get 2 tablespoons for 45 calories. So I'll be using that. I may or may not put cheese on. I may or may not put a hard-boiled egg on. We'll see, but I will also be adding, I have that, I think I mentioned it before, the Tyson grilled and ready, the frozen chicken breast that comes in a bag. There's, I'm sure, other brands than Tyson, but that's what I'll be adding on the salad too, just to kind of get some protein in there. And then for snacks, because I'm going to have salads for lunch, those tend to not stick with me quite as well. I'm going to have 2 tablespoons of my favorite hummus, which is the Sabra garlic, I believe it is. I'm gonna have 2 tablespoons of that. And then I found these Blue Diamond, can't see that, sorry, nut thins. These are actually pretty good. So a full serving is 19 crackers for 130 calories, which is a little much for a snack for me. So I'm just going to do, that's 30 grams. So I'm just going to do half that, do 15 grams, which will be, of course, 65 calories. So that's my plan for snacks. And then for dessert, I'll probably just do my M&Ms again, because I still have some of those M&Ms left. So I can do those 11 M&Ms like I did before. So that's kind of what I'm thinking for dessert, but that'll be my meals this week. And then of course, Sunday is Super Bowl. And I mentioned this before, I don't do any cheat days. And the reason I don't is because I have enough holidays and birthdays and just special events throughout the year that I wind up with tons and tons of cheat days, which are really, for me, just going to be a meal where I don't worry about it. I'm not going to track anything. I'll try and make better decisions. I'm not going to stuff myself, but I don't want to, you know, I want to be able to have a beer and watch the game. You know, I'm not going to count every little thing. So, but I do want to make better choices. So, I mentioned before that if you guys wanted me to, I would film, my Super Bowl snacks. So I went ahead and did that for you. And, what I plan to do, I will actually have a few people over here. We're not having a huge party because, well, COVID. But we are going to have a few people over that were around all the time. And so I'm actually serving them to everybody. So everything that is here, with the exception of chips and of course, you know, if someone wants alcohol or something, but everything's going to be a little bit lower calorie and better choices because they taste good. So why not? That's what I'm actually serving my guests and myself. So spoiler alert, if you're coming to my house for Super Bowl. For me, and I guess I probably should have talked about this last week with, you know, my kind of February preview, but February for us has a lot of holidays. I've got, you know, Super Bowl, which in our family is a holiday. In fact, I have on one of my husband's Bengals shirt. He's a longtime Bengals fan, so this is a very big deal for him. So, and I even did my nails for him, so you can see that. So hopefully Sunday's a good day in our house. But you know, for us, Super Bowl, as I was saying, Super Bowl is a holiday for us. We also have my dad's birthday is in February. Our anniversary is in February. So we do have quite a few things going on. February, March, I looked, and the only months that we don't have things going on is actually January and September. That's it. Every other month has at least one holiday, birthday celebration of some sort. So, you know, it's okay. Those days don't kill us. Sometimes I think it actually can reset your weight loss too, to have a day where you know, go over calories by, you know, at least a bit and then get right back on. I think it actually kind of helps your body do a reset. So I don't necessarily think they're bad things. And I think it's part of that balance. It's part of, you know, enjoying life, you know, which I want to do. I don't want to ever not be able to do that. So I will go ahead and show you what I made. I went ahead and made these all last night. I did do kind of a smaller serving because there was no way to film this and have it still be good on Super Bowl Sunday. So, not that my son was not upset at all, because he had lots of yummy snacks for lunch today. But so I kept the servings a little bit smaller. So obviously you'd want to increase depending on your crowd size, but if you've only got a couple people, then it'll be perfect the way it is. So we'll go ahead and go into all of those recipes, and I will just put the calories up on the screen for each of the serving sizes and let you know what that looks like. Anyway, enough chatting. Let's get into the recipes. First up, the easiest thing to do, whether you're having a Super Bowl party at your house or if you're, you know, headed somewhere else, is of course to bring your own veggie tray. But the dipping or the dressing that it comes with is really, really high in calories and fat. So my suggestion is to take just a little, you know, disposable little cup with a lid and do some Greek yogurt with any kind of mix-in that you like. You can do these Lipton, you know, soup mixes. You could do a little bit of sriracha. You could do, you know, just the powder that's the ranch dressing powder mixed in with it. Any of those kinds of things are really, really good. And that's going to save you in calories, and it still tastes delicious. Gives you something else to dip your veggies in. Another idea, which is something that I plan to do, is to have some of this, you know, any brand, it doesn't matter, but I happen to have the Nally, the original vegetarian chili. This entire can is 330 calories. So I can take just, you know, a half a cup of this or something like that, and have something that's going to fill me up, but that still feels like a kind of cheat food. I could even sprinkle just a tiny bit of cheese on the top to make it just that much more delicious. So the first recipe we're going to do is Fiesta bites, and this is a Hungry Girl recipe. If you haven't checked out Hungry Girl, I'm going to link the recipe down in the description box below. But Hungry Girl is brilliant. I have 3 of her cookbooks. She does amazing, amazing stuff. she's really good at giving you really, really filling food for not a lot of calories. So I love her recipes. Fiesta Bites is one I've made a bunch of times before. I almost always bring it to parties and it's always a big hit. So you're gonna start just with some wonton wrappers and again, just any brand will do. I'm going to spray these cups with some avocado oil, oil spray. I'm gonna spray the cups, I'm gonna put the wontons in, spray the tops of those, and I'm gonna pop them into the oven at 350 degrees. And you wanna cook them just until they start to get a little bit golden brown. And if any of them start to fall over, because sometimes that'll happen, like you put them in and I'll show you, but you put them in and it kind of tips over a little bit. Even as it's cooking, I sort of keep an eye on them and I'll pop up in the oven. Be careful, you don't burn yourself. It's very, very hot. And I'll just sort of ease it back because you want them to be kind of like a flower. You want them to be open because we're gonna put our yummy stuffing inside. While those are cooking, we'll go ahead and get started on the filling. So I have a tablespoon of fat-free cream cheese. If you can't find fat-free, just use just use the third less fat. That's totally fine. I'm gonna take 2 tablespoons of taco sauce. You can use whatever kind you like. I have mild because I have people that don't like spice that are coming. That is more than 2 tablespoons. Try and measure a little more accurately than I just did, but that's okay. The nice part about cooking versus baking, you can be off a little and it's fine. I'm gonna take 1 teaspoon of this just taco seasoning. You can also make your own homemade if you are more ambitious than I am. But we're only gonna need 1 teaspoon of that. And then we're just gonna mix this together, which the hardest part is breaking up that cream cheese. And then the recipe is gonna call for a can of chicken. So it comes just like tuna does. Chicken comes canned, which I never knew that before this recipe. I've been making this recipe for, oh gosh, I don't even know how many years, probably close to 10. And I never even knew chicken came that way. So it does, and you can use that. I happen to have some chicken breasts, so I just did it in my Instapot real easy. I put it in my my pressure cooker. On high for 10 minutes and then just shredded it up. So just because I had chicken breasts, I did that, but you can do whichever you like, whatever you've got on hand. If you've got something left over, it's a great use of that. I have it shredded. You can do just cubed, but I would do pretty small cubes because again, this is fitting in those tiny little cups. So dump in our chicken. So we have 10 ounces of chicken breasts. So whether that's canned or whatever type you had, get that all mixed in. This is such an easy recipe, you guys. It's so good and such a just quick, easy go-to. I love it. So then we have a 1/3 cup black beans, a 1/3 cup corn. And that's just canned corn. You can do canned, you can do frozen, you can do fresh, whatever you have. A 1/4 cup, and it calls for fat-free cheese. I have whole fat cheese, so that's what I'm using. But you can do whatever you like. I do prefer the full fat just because it melts a little bit better. I find that the fat-free doesn't really quite, it melts like fat-free, right? It doesn't really melt. So I do like the full fat better, and there's so little in all of this that you're not doing that much damage. It's fine. But do whatever you would like. Okay, and that's what they should look like. There, see how they got just a tiny bit, a little bit of golden brown going on. You could tell I had to fight with a couple of them that were wanting to fold in on themselves, but that's why, do you see how hard they are now? That's why you want to do it when they're still in the oven and still cooking, because you want to make sure you can get them straightened out. The second you pull them out, they start to cool and then they stay that way. So we're gonna just try and evenly distribute this, which is sometimes the most challenging part of any cupcake filling, or any wonton filling, or any filling at all. And there you have it. They're all nice and full. We throw them back in the oven, still at 350, just leave it on. We're gonna cook these for about 8 minutes until it gets all the way warm through. The edges will get just a little bit more golden brown. And then when you're ready to serve them, you do some fresh tomatoes on the top. If you don't have fresh, you can do canned, or you can do what I do, and I just do a little bit of salsa on the top of each of them, which is delicious. And they are finger foods. They are so, so good. Next up, we have zucchini fritters. This is actually a new recipe to me. This one comes from the Skinnyish dish. I'm actually going to half the recipe just because it's not actually Super Bowl and I don't want to waste food and have, too much around. But my family's gonna love eating all of this, of course. So in this bowl, I have 1 zucchini that's been grated and strained really well. I just put it on a bunch of paper towels and to try and get as much of the liquid out as I possibly could. To this, we're going to add a half a cup of corn. And that was ever so slightly less, but I actually was finishing up some corn that I already had open, so that's good enough, but do a half a cup. I'm gonna do 2.5 tablespoons of, it says real bacon bits. I have these bacon crumbles from Costco. These are so good, you guys. If you don't have these, they're not too bad. For 1 tablespoon, it's only 30 calories, and it adds so much bacon flavor to anything that you do. So there's 1, 2, this is gonna be some precise measuring, and a half. All right, and then the recipe actually calls, when it's doubled, it calls for 1 egg. So I'm gonna have to do half an egg, which is the only downside to doing this in half. So I'm just gonna kind of, sorry if that's loud, I'm just gonna kind of do the best I can to get half of this egg in there. If I get a little more, it's fine. I got most of the white, which is also fine, no big deal. All right, get that out of the way. And then next up is gonna be the cheese, which is gonna be 1/4 cup of, again, I'm using the full fat cheese. And they actually called for mozzarella, but my favorite is cheddar, so I'm using cheddar. This would also be really good with pepper jack as well, I think, because it would give it that little bit of kick. But use whatever cheese you have on hand or whatever you like. Next up, we have 1/4 cup of just all-purpose flour. We're gonna do a teaspoon of baking powder, a teaspoon of seasoning salt, and you can just use whatever brand of seasoning salt you like. And the recipe actually calls for 4 to 5 green onions. My family doesn't really like onions all that much, so I'm actually just gonna add in some chopped onion. So I thought I'd just do a couple tablespoons of chopped onion instead, but again, do what you like. And then it calls for just half a teaspoon of basil. This is gonna be, again, some real accurate measuring, but when I'm talking seasonings, I mean, unless you really go overboard, it doesn't hurt too much. And you really want that zucchini to be coated, especially with that flour. I did that wrong. I forgot to half on the baking powder and the seasonings, shoot. Okay, well, this has too much flour in it. So, bummer. That's the problem with doing a brand new recipe when you're recording. Oh well, we're gonna try it anyway. Put just a little bit of olive oil in the pan, and you're gonna pan fry these for 2 to 3 minutes per side. And then when you serve them, we're actually gonna serve them with either some salsa, or you can do that same Greek yogurt dip that I showed you at the very beginning. So do any kind of whatever your favorite seasoning is, whether that's, you know, the powdered ranch or something, with the non-fat Greek yogurt as a little dipper on the side. So I'm gonna get these fried up and I can show you what they look like. Next up, we have everyone's favorite potato skins. So what you're gonna do is you're going to cook your baked potatoes however you like. You can do them in the oven. I do mine in the microwave. I just stab them a couple of times on both sides, pop them in the microwave for, depends how big they are, but typically about 4 minutes per side usually gets them done. So we're just gonna slice these guys in half. And then you're gonna scoop out most of the filling. You wanna leave just sort of a little rim in there, and then scoop the rest out. Do let these cool first, because I did these earlier so that way I wasn't burning myself. It's okay to do it when they're warm, but please do be advised when they first come out. Of course, they're very, very hot and you don't want to burn yourself. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and scoop this out. I'm going to spray my cookie sheet here and get them all in the pan ready to go. Okay, once you have that all done, you actually have all of the insides of the potatoes, and this I would recommend turning into a KFC bowl for lunch tomorrow, because that was delicious when I had that. So you can tell some of these are itty bitty. I mean, you can tell next to my hand, look how small those are. So your calories, of course, are going to depend on how big your potato was. This is kind of a small to medium potato. This is really what I usually like to do, but I had some really, really small ones in my bag, so I wanted to also use those up because those, you're not going to use those pretty much for anything else. But what I do when I get a 10-pound bag of potatoes is I'll sort through them and I'll pull out the ones that are huge that I can use as baking potatoes for like baked potato bar nights and things like that. And the ones that are a little bit smaller, I'll do something like this with. I'm going to pop this in the oven for about 8 or 10 minutes. Those are piping hot out of the oven. So I'm going to take a half a cup. Again, I'm using full fat cheese. I'm just going to evenly distribute the cheese throughout. I might wind up using a little bit less just because a few of these are just so tiny and I don't want to wind up putting too much cheese in them either. And if one of them explodes like that, it's fine. It still tastes good. Don't worry about it. I took some frozen broccoli and I cut it up. Bought the florets, but then I cut it up even smaller because, as you know, they still come huge. You could do this with fresh broccoli. I would just go ahead and maybe, you know, soften it a little bit, however you want to cook it, just so it's not quite so crunchy. Unless you like it that way, then you do you. I want just 2 tablespoons of these same bacon crumbles just throughout each of them. So you could also do the broccoli in the bottom and then the cheese on top will kind of help hold it all together. I just like when that cheese really gets in there and melts. And these are going to go back in the oven just for a minute or two because all you're really trying to do is just melt that cheese, which they were so hot, it's already half melted. So just keep an eye on it. You don't want to burn them. Next up, we have pizza rolls. So I have 2 ingredient dough right here. I already showed you how to make that. I have a half a cup of the self-rising flour and a half a cup of the non-fat Greek yogurt. To that, I'm actually going to sprinkle on some Italian seasoning. And you can actually mix this into the dough, but I like to just do it on top. It's fine. Some garlic powder. And this is because I really, really like garlic. So if you don't like garlic as much as I do, then be careful with it. And we're just gonna put our pizza sauce on. And with the pizza sauce, I'm gonna keep just this little sliver that's not covered. And the reason for that is when I roll it up, I wanna be able to make it stick. So I have some reduced fat mozzarella for our pizza. This is a 7-ounce container, which is about 1 3/4 cups according to the little chart here. So I'm probably gonna use about half. You could actually weigh and measure this, of course, but it's Super Bowl, so I'm not. I'm using a solid cup on here. So that's a little bit more than half that I just used. I'm gonna add to that some turkey pepperoni. If you haven't had turkey pepperoni before, it tastes just like regular pepperoni, except that you get 17 slices for 70 calories. This is such a good calorie saving. So that's 1 serving of pepperoni. So I have pre-sliced up 15 olives. And then now it's the hard part. We're gonna do the rolling. And this is where the dough can get a little finicky. You can see it's gonna wanna rip, and that's okay. And here's the thing, even if it grenades, even if it completely falls apart, it still tastes good, so nobody cares. So we're gonna just gently, gently roll that up. Perfect. And then everything's gonna wanna fall out of the end, so I'm just gonna kind of pinch and roll. Pinch and tuck that under. Just like that. I'll just cut each of those in half again. These end ones are not gonna be amazing, but that's okay. There's just gonna be a lot of dough on those, which is fine. And then I like to kind of, you know, like stand it up in a way, like that. And just be real patient with this dough because I've told you before, it's the most finicky dough, but it tastes good, works great, so just be patient. These are not gonna be the prettiest. If you use actual just refrigerated pizza dough, they kind of come out looking like flowers. Not the prettiest thing we've made today, but that's okay. So we're gonna bake these at 425 for about 10 to 12 minutes. You just need it to be cooked through golden brown, and then we'll pull them out and I'll show you what we got.
10 minutes, starting now.
Okay, there you have it. So we have the zucchini fritters. I tried one, they are so good. The potato skins, I have made those a million times. In the Fiesta bites, made those a million times. I always know those are good. The pizza rolls, I've made those a couple times. For some reason this time they were wanting to stick, so I don't think I sprayed the pan enough, so make sure you do spray the pan really, really well. But look, they turned out really cute. They're nice looking. So this whole entire plate of food, if you sat down with this, you don't feel like you're missing out on anything. This is an amazing little plate of snacks. So this with that little bowl of chili or some, you know, veggies and dip or a little of all the above, you know, go ahead and have a light beer or two. That's my plan. And, you know, enjoy the game. So enjoy the commercials if you're not into the game. I hope you enjoyed those recipes. If you try any of them, leave it in the comments below. Let me know what you think. And also let me know who you're rooting for. I hope you guys have a great and successful week. And just, you know, stay on track. If you have a rough week, whether that's, you know, this week or a month from now, and you're on a weight loss journey, just keep doing the things you know you need to do and stay on track. And I will probably need to watch this back myself if it continues this way. But do remember the scale is just one of the measurements that we use. It's just a tool. So, you know, just stay on track, keep doing what you know you need to do, and we'll get there together. Be sure to like this video and click that subscribe button so that you're notified each and every time I upload a video. Good luck this week, and we'll see you next week. It's okay. Go lay down. Oh, I did that wrong.